Claire Matthews sat on her threadbare couch, her phone trembling in her hand like the fragile hope she was clinging to. The dim light of the living room cast a tired glow on the 32-year-old's face, her eyes ringed with shadows from too many sleepless nights beside her infant daughter. On the screen, a desperate message waited to be sent. "Ben, I'm sorry to ask again, but I need $50.00 for Mia's formula. I get paid Friday. I promise I'll pay you back." She hit send before her pride could stop her. Mia slept nearby in her bassinet, her soft breathing humming through the baby monitor like a delicate lullaby that balanced Claire between hope and despair. She checked her bank account, $1.87. The last bottle had already been watered down more than she was comfortable with, and now there was nothing left. The message was humiliating, but that shame didn't compare to the ache in Claire's gut at the thought of Mia waking up hungry. Just months ago, she'd been a finance manager at a mid-sized firm, but a brutal round of layoffs had swept her out. There was no partner, her parents were gone, and her brother Ben had just relocated across the country for work. She stared at the screen, waiting. 1 minute, 5, nothing. Then the phone buzzed. "I think you've got the wrong number. I'm not Ben." Claire froze. She checked the number. She'd mistyped the last digit. "I'm so sorry. Wrong number. My mistake. Please ignore." She tossed the phone onto the couch, shame burning hot in her chest like acid. Another failure. Another misstep in a series that felt endless. But before she could sink further into despair, her phone chimed again. A second message from the stranger. "Is your baby okay?" Claire blinked. Why would a complete stranger care? The question gave Claire pause. Her first instinct was caution. She'd heard too many stories of predators cloaked in kindness. But then she glanced at Mia, sleeping with her tiny fists clenched, as if bracing against the weight of the world. "We'll manage, thank you, and sorry for bothering you." She thought that would end the exchange. But before she could put the phone down, another message arrived. "I could help, no strings attached." Claire let out a quiet, humorless laugh. In her world, there were always strings. "Thanks, but I don't take money from strangers." "Smart policy," came the reply. "I'm Nathan, now I'm not a stranger. What formula does your daughter use?" Claire froze. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of her wanted to shut this down, but another, quieter part of her began to believe maybe he really meant to help. Why would you help someone you don't know? In his downtown office, Nathan Cole, the 45-year-old founder of an international law firm, stood at the window, staring down at the endless stream of city lights. He was supposed to be reviewing a multi-million-dollar merger agreement, but his mind was occupied by a stranger's desperate message. "Let's just say I remember what it's like to have no one to ask, and I haven't forgotten that feeling," he replied. Claire stared at the screen, torn. She hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time in days. Mia had a formula allergy. She could only digest one specific brand, the most expensive one. "I really don't feel right about this. What's your Venmo?" Claire hesitated. Then she sent it. What do I have to lose? She thought. If this turned weird, she could block him instantly. A minute later, her phone buzzed. Claire opened the notification and gasped. It wasn't $50.00. It was $500.00. "This is too much. I can't accept it," she typed quickly. "Consider it in advance for the next few months. One less thing to worry about." Tears welled in Claire's eyes. This time they weren't from fear. They were from grace. Claire sat there, staring at the transfer confirmation on her screen. It was real. The money was in her account. A stranger, after only a handful of messages, had given her enough to survive for weeks. At first, she planned to send a simple thank you. But then the unease returned. He offered help without expecting anything in return. It didn't sit quite right. Then, the next morning, another message came. "I know this might seem odd, but I have a proposition. Strictly professional, nothing personal." Claire's spine stiffened. Here it is, she thought. The catch. What kind of proposition? I run a law firm called Cole & Ash. We're looking for someone to assist on a short-term internal audit project. Your brother Ben works in my HR department. He's mentioned you before. Claire nearly dropped her phone. How do you know Ben? How do you know I work in finance? Her heart pounded as she double-checked all her social profiles. Everything was set to private. I apologize if that feels invasive. After our conversation yesterday, I noticed your number was almost identical to Ben's. He works in HR. When I mentioned a wrong number text this morning, he recognized it right away. He spoke very highly of you. Claire sank onto the couch, torn between relief and suspicion. So this is all just coincidence? Completely. But perhaps a fortunate one. We genuinely need someone to comb through our records before a major merger. It's a 3-month contract. Could go longer if it's a good fit. Would you be interested in interviewing? Claire hesitated. It sounded too good to be true. But after weeks of sending out resumes and hearing nothing back, could she afford to turn this down? I'd need flexibility. I have Mia. We offer on-site childcare and flexible hours. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you're available. I'll let reception know to expect you. Claire glanced at her daughter, then at the empty fridge. She didn't have many options. Okay, I'll come. Claire barely slept that night. She scrubbed her kitchen spotless, ironed her old work blazer, and repacked Mia's diaper bag at least 5 times. The next morning, she stepped into the towering glass building of Cole & Ash with a tight chest. Mia rested quietly in the carrier strapped to her chest, her tiny knit hat covering most of her face. The receptionist greeted her by name before she could speak. Mr. Cole is expecting you on the top floor. Ms. Marjorie will escort you. An older woman appeared and led Claire down a plush hallway to a private elevator. They didn't stop at a conference room or HR office. Instead, they walked directly into a sleek corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He'll be with you shortly, Marjorie smiled. Can I get you anything to drink? Just water, thank you, Claire replied, doing her best to steady her nerves. Mia was thankfully asleep, so Claire used the quiet to take in her surroundings. This wasn't a typical CEO's office. Real books lined the shelves. A guitar leaned in the corner. Family photos dotted the desk. She looks peaceful. Claire turned quickly. A tall man with silver thread hair and warm, steady eyes stood in the doorway. No introduction needed. She recognized Nathan Cole immediately. Mr. Cole, she said, rising, thank you for meeting with me. Call me Nathan, he said, offering a brief handshake. And thank you for coming. They sat down, a slight awkwardness settling between them. Claire broke the silence. I'm still not entirely comfortable with what happened yesterday. I've never taken money from a stranger. And the job offer, it came out of nowhere. Nathan nodded. I understand. Let me explain. He took a breath. Yesterday was the anniversary of my daughter's death. Her name was Elise. She passed away 3 years ago from leukemia. Claire's throat tightened. Then I got your message about a baby needing formula. I couldn't ignore it. I didn't want to. Claire tightened her hold on the carrier. I'm so sorry. I'm not telling you this for sympathy, Nathan said gently. I'm telling you because I know what helplessness feels like. And if I can stop someone else from going through that, I will. Claire looked at him, and for the first time her suspicion began to melt. 3 days later, Claire began her temporary role at Cole & Ash. Her workspace, a small conference room converted into a private office, was set up just beside Nathan's. It had a proper desk, dual monitors, and even a crib for Mia. Each morning, Marjorie brought Claire coffee and often helped entertain Mia when she needed to concentrate. Despite the unusual circumstances that led her here, the atmosphere was far more welcoming than Claire had anticipated. Her task was to review internal financial reports from the past 3 quarters, due diligence ahead of the firm's upcoming merger with an international legal group. Claire worked quietly, methodically, line by line, spreadsheet after spreadsheet. Within a week, she noticed something troubling. Small inconsistencies, scattered across different departments, subtle but persistent. a legitimate expense that appeared too frequently, a transaction date that didn't quite align. The deeper she dug, the more it resembled a pattern, not coincidence. In a brief meeting with Nathan, she said, "I'm not certain, but some of these numbers don't line up." Nathan paused, setting down the folder in his hand. "What are you seeing?" Claire turned her screen toward him. "Tiny payments, individually insignificant, but over time they form a pattern, and it's too consistent to be random." He leaned in, brows furrowed. "You think someone's siphoning money?" "Not directly, but they're definitely making money vanish gradually, possibly to hide something bigger." "Keep going," Nathan said after a beat, "but don't tell anyone else. Not yet." Claire blinked. "Not even the CFO?" "Especially not him," Nathan replied, voice low. "When we're certain, I'll tell you the next step." Claire nodded slowly, but unease curled in her chest. If Nathan didn't trust the chief financial officer, then this might go deeper than she imagined. She glanced at Mia, peacefully napping in her crib. Claire hadn't come here looking for trouble, but trouble had found her, and somehow she was the only one seeing the cracks forming beneath the surface. The deeper Claire dug, the clearer her findings became. The accounting system had been carefully manipulated, and every path seemed to lead to one place, the finance department, under the control of Lawrence Byrne, the chief financial officer. She hadn't told anyone, just as Nathan instructed, but Claire's instincts warned her. Someone knew she was getting close to the truth. On Monday morning, while she was combing through his statement, a tall figure appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Matthews." Lawrence's voice was calm, almost too controlled. Claire quickly minimized her screen. "Good morning, Mr. Byrne. Can I help you with something?" He stepped inside, his eyes drifting to Mia's crib before resting back on Claire. "I hear you've been working directly with Nathan. Private space, bringing your child to work, quite the privileged arrangement." His tone was laced with quiet disdain. Claire stayed composed. "I'm just focused on the project I was assigned." Lawrence tilted his head slightly, offering a thin smile. "Of course, just remember, this firm was running just fine before you arrived, and it'll continue just fine after you're gone." He left without another word, but the coldness in the air lingered. Claire sat frozen for a moment. Her hand trembled slightly. Before she could steady herself, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Claire Matthews speaking. "Mrs. Matthews, this is Detective Russo with the Financial Crimes Division." The woman's voice was crisp and direct. "We're investigating discrepancies in the accounts at Nash. I'd like to ask you a few questions." Claire's breath caught. I'm not sure how I can help. It would be better if we spoke in person, this afternoon if possible." Before Claire could respond, the call ended. She looked at Mia, still peacefully asleep, unaware of the storm gathering. Hours later, when Nathan returned from a meeting, Claire pulled him into his office and shut the door tightly. "The police called me," she whispered. "And Lawrence showed up here, practically hinting at something. Nathan, what's going on?" Nathan froze, his expression darkening the moment Claire mentioned the police. "This is happening faster than I anticipated," he said quietly, bracing himself against the desk. "Claire, I need you to trust me. There's something I haven't told you." Claire straightened, tension sharp in her eyes. "What are you hiding? Am I being set up?" "No," Nathan replied firmly. "The opposite. I'm trying to protect you." He opened a desk drawer and pulled out a thick folder, placing it in her hands. "I've been investigating Lawrence for months, and I couldn't risk anyone inside finding out. We suspect he's not just embezzling, he's laundering money through our overseas divisions." Claire clutched the folder, heart pounding. "So, you brought me in because I was an outsider?" "Yes, but the wrong number text. That was real. I didn't plan that. But when I realized who you were, your skills, your situation, your independence, I knew you were the one I needed." Before Claire could respond, the door burst open. Marjorie entered, her face pale. "They're here," she said. "Board security and police. They have a warrant, and they're asking for you, Claire." Claire froze. What are they saying? They say you're Nathan's accomplice. A chill ran through Claire's spine. She looked at Nathan, panic in her eyes. I have a baby. They'll arrest me. I'll lose Mia. No, Nathan said with finality. Marjorie, take them to the basement through the private elevator. Get them to the safe house. Safe house? Claire echoed, barely believing this was her life now. Nathan gripped her shoulders. If you stay, they'll separate you from your child. I swear I'll handle everything else, but right now you have to go. Claire pulled Mia close and followed Marjorie through a hidden door behind the bookshelf. As it closed behind her, she knew her life had just changed forever. The safe house was a modest but clean apartment tucked into a quiet residential area on the north side of the city. Claire stepped through the door with Mia in her arms, feeling as if she just crossed into a different reality. Marjorie, who had led the way, moved quickly and efficiently, setting up a crib, diapers, bottles, even snacks. You seem very prepared for this, Claire said, exhausted but still wary. Mr. Cole is always cautious, Marjorie replied, checking the locks and curtains. He's had this place ready since the first signs appeared. Claire sank into a chair, cradling Mia against her chest. She wanted to trust Nathan, but the past few hours had her head spinning. If he knew Lawrence was laundering money, why didn't he go to the police from the start? He did, Marjorie answered seriously. But the case was shut down. Lawrence has powerful friends. This time, Mr. Cole needed irrefutable proof. Claire slowly opened the folder Nathan had handed her. Spreadsheets, bank records, flow charts. Everything matched what she'd uncovered, and she had been the one to find the final piece. Close to midnight, Claire's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Are you safe? Stay for now. Is this you? It's me. Had to ditch my phone. They confiscated everything. But I've been released. Lawrence is playing it like he's the one who found the embezzlement. What happens now? Sees what you found? FBI's meeting us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Claire looked at Mia, sleeping peacefully in the chaos of it all. She could run. Start fresh. She had enough savings now to disappear. But if she did, Lawrence might get away with it. Nathan would be left behind. She took a deep breath. She'd come too far to turn back now. I'll be there. The next morning, Claire arrived at the meeting spot, a nondescript office building tucked between the bustle of the business district. Nathan was already waiting in the lobby, looking worn but calm. When he saw Claire, he gave a small nod and said softly, You came. Almost didn't, Claire admitted, walking in beside him. Part of me still thinks this is insane. It is insane, Nathan agreed with a faint smile. But it's necessary. Inside, they met with FBI agent Keller, a sharp-eyed woman with a no-nonsense presence. Claire walked her through everything, the money trails, the irregularities, the cover-ups Lawrence had constructed. When she finished, Agent Keller nodded approvingly. This is exactly what we needed. Clear, detailed, undeniable. The plan was simple. That afternoon's board meeting would be the opportunity to confront Lawrence. Nathan would let him incriminate himself, and Claire would enter with the FBI at the perfect moment. Before they left, Nathan pulled Claire aside. His voice dropped. If this goes badly, Marjorie has instructions to get you and Mia out of the country. There's a separate account set up in your name. Claire stared at him, stunned. It won't come to that, she replied, trying to sound confident. Just in case, Nathan said. He pressed a small envelope into her hand. And thank you for trusting me, even after everything. Claire held the envelope tightly, a swell of emotion rising in her, gratitude, fear, and hope. The board meeting began promptly at 3 p.m. in the main conference room on the top floor of Cole and Ash. Claire wasn't in the room. She stood just outside, accompanied by Agent Keller and 2 other FBI officers, watching the proceedings on a security monitor. Lawrence Byrne took the floor with a grim yet composed expression. It pains me to share this, he began, distributing folders to the board, but we have reason to believe that Nathan Cole, along with an outside accomplice, Claire Matthews, has been involved in suspicious financial activity, including untraceable transfers. Claire clenched her fist, even knowing it was all part of the plan. Hearing her name used as the scapegoat sent a chill through her. It reminded her of every moment she'd felt powerless, jobless, voiceless, invisible. But this time, she was walking in to be seen, to be heard, to fight back. Nathan remained impressively calm. "That's a serious accusation, Lawrence. I assume you have hard evidence." "You're holding it," Lawrence said smugly. Nathan glanced toward the door. The signal. It opened. Claire entered with Agent Keller and the FBI. Silence fell over the room. "Claire Matthews?" Lawrence sneered. "How convenient." "Indeed," Claire replied, placing a thick folder on the table. "I'm here to explain exactly who's been siphoning funds from this company for the past 18 months. She began her presentation. Clear, concise, and irrefutable, she pointed out the hidden payments, falsified records, and the trail leading to shell companies, all tied back to Lawrence. Color drained from Lawrence's face. When the FBI produced the arrest warrant, he panicked, lunging toward the door, but he was tackled before he could reach it. The entire confrontation lasted minutes, but to Claire, it felt like a lifetime. When the room finally calmed, Nathan stepped beside her. "You did it." Claire exhaled, the tension in her chest easing. At last, the truth was no longer in the shadows. 6 months had passed since the truth came to light. Claire was now head of internal audit at Cole & Ash, a vital role, trusted completely by the very board she'd once watched fracture and rebuild. Each morning, she dropped Mia off at the company daycare, or on busier days, kept her daughter close in the small crib nestled in the corner of her private office. Life was still full, but now it had rhythm and roots. As for Nathan, he wasn't just the CEO anymore. He was her partner, her steady hand after the storm, the man who never rushed her but simply stayed until she was ready to believe in something again. There was no grand announcement, no flashy photos or dramatic declarations, just a quiet nod, a simple ring, and a promise spoken one quiet afternoon. Mia, now toddling with wobbly confidence, clung to her stuffed elephant, a gift from Marjorie, as if it were her link to everything safe in the world. She was the silent bridge between two people who had once been strangers, lost in their own loneliness. One wrong number, an impulsive message, one desperate decision, and it changed everything. That night, as Claire tucked Mia into the little bed inside the cozy apartment the three of them now called home, she leaned down, kissed her daughter's forehead, and whispered, as much to herself as to the sleeping child, "Sometimes, the mistake you fear most becomes the miracle you never saw coming." And somehow, a wrong number had led her right to everything she never dared dream of.